And there's talk of the Tour de France going offshore and having, we've seen it the prologue in Britain before, we saw it last year in Holland, and I think they're talking in a couple of years' time even going to North Africa.
All right, Phil, we thank you so much for your time. This is a very special moment for all of us watching on location here, and I think a very special moment for you. You basically held Australian cycling in high regard for many, many years, and you still do. You are a legend, and we've got ourselves another legend in Cadel Evans, so we thank you both.
Thank you. Yell for Cadel.
Well, Cadel Evans just sucking it all in, the boy from Barwon Heads, and I know that in Victoria, on the southern coast there, they are dancing in the street. The Adelaide, not the Adelaide, but the Geelong Advertiser. Well, you'll see a full wraparound, I'm sure, this week. And you'll see a full wraparound in the Sydney Morning Herald and the Age. These are the images. And we're so happy to be bringing you these pictures here on SBS. This is our 21st anniversary. And it's wonderful to have an Australian on top of the podium. I'm joined now by Anthony Tan, who's a highly respected journalist and been following world cycling for many, many years. Tanny, great to have you along. I'm pretty touched by what I'm seeing today.
Yeah, highly respected journalist. Perhaps some people would disagree with that, but I've been coming to the Tour now for the best part of 10 years, and I haven't seen anything as magnificent as how Cadel rode this Tour de France. He rode a perfect Tour de France. Andy Schleck said so yesterday, but Andy Schleck also said he rode the...
In the 2011 Tour de France, as we look at the presentation, tell me, what was it about Cadel that made everything so different this year?
Do you know, right from the start of the season, Tomo, right from Torino Adriatico, the first stage race he won, and then he went to Catalonia, then he won Tour de Romandie, then Dauphiné, and now the Tour de France. There was something different about Cadel, and I think it was his mentality and also his preparation, and just the way his team rode for him at this year's Tour de France. There was just something different, and everything was perfect. He avoided those crashes in the first 9 days. That was critical, which Contador didn't do. And then he was just better prepared than the Schleck brothers. I thought they came in with a plan and they stuck to the plan, but they weren't malleable enough to change their plan when the circumstances demanded it.
Were you disappointed with the Schlecks? The fact that they couldn't get their time trial discipline in order? I mean, we saw how many problems Andy Schleck particularly had in last year's Tour, and for me there was no improvement at all.
No, I think both the Schleck brothers have to do something about their time trialling ability. To say that a climber can't time trial, well, that's not true, because Contador's been able to do it, Cadel has been able to do it, Robert Hessing has been able to do it, so it can be done. They need to revise their preparation leading into next year's Tour de France if they're to win again, because otherwise Cadel will take a second Tour de France.
Well, what's this going to do for Australian cycling? I said yesterday in our coverage there are many youngsters watching from lounge rooms all across Australia, perhaps leaning to their mothers and fathers and saying, look, I want to be like Cadel when I grow up.
Tomo, I think, SBS, all credit to them, they've pulled in a new audience at the Tour de France, and it's not only the people who race their bikes, it's people who ride to work or may not even ride at all. They're just beguiled by this race, as you and I am. And yeah, it's really special. I think I'm choking up because...
Don't choke, please. Don't choke.
But no, I mean, it's taken you 16 years to get here. It's taken me probably the same amount of time, and it's really special.
Well, let's just talk about this year's race. We saw so many highlights, we saw so many victories, we saw so many special moments. A couple that stick out in my mind was Philippe Gilbert in the early part, Thor Hushovd wearing the yellow jersey for so many days and winning a stage into Lourdes with the World Championship jersey on his back. And of course, Thomas Vogler, what a champion, what a hero he is. And I put him up there with Cadel Evans. He didn't win the Tour, but he won a lot of hearts.
No, Tomo, every single day of this Tour de France has been really exciting. I think it's one of the most exciting Tours de France I've ever seen. Perhaps the best since 1989, when Le Mans won over Fignon by just 9 seconds on this very avenue, the Avenue des Champs-Élysées.
I spoke to Phil Anderson just a few moments ago about Cadel's popularity in this part of the world, in the Tour de France, and I said the reason for that popularity is he's a clean skin. There's been no controversy surrounding him. There's been no shadow of doubt or suspicion over his head. That's one reason why they love him here.
No, Cadel Evans has been vociferously anti-doping from day one, and that's what we like about him. When he rocked up to the press conference yesterday, you know, he was applauded by the journalists. That wasn't done last year, it wasn't done the year before, and it wasn't done in the Armstrong years.
That's right. As we look at the winners of the various competitions now, all 4 jerseys. Well, there they are, the 4 winners of each competition. The yellow jersey going to Cadel Evans, the green jersey to Mark Cavendish, the King of the Mountains jersey to Sammy Sanchez, and Pierre Rolland. He's the best young rider of 2011. Tanny, we did see some crashes as well. Just quickly, does the race organisation have to change anything in order to make it a safer race?
No, I think there was a few riders, and they're in the minority, and they were complaining about the dangerous descents. Well, they knew the course before they arrived in the one day, you know, 23 days and 21 stages ago, so they knew what they were in for. To complain about the course, I don't think is fair to the race organisation and to the competition director. I mean, they create a course which is exciting, and I think it's fair, and I think it was also safe.
All right, Tanny, thanks for your contribution. Don't go away. We'll be right back with more from our final instalment of the 2011 Tour de France.